What's up, everybody? This is Master Mo.
AboodJay.
Hi, how are you guys?
And the women can introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Ameera from Story of Ameera. Last you've seen of me was with the debate with Husseini and Andrew Fake.
Clair is also here. Would you like to shake your hand, Clair? Hi.
I'm still trying to get over the Andrew Fake.
As I already mentioned, it's to discuss the differences between the Western world and the Arab world, and how could the two differences collide, or maybe try to make amends, if that's even possible.
The question is, how do they coexist?
That's why we have such elements such as Islamophobia present, and even blatant racism from either party. It's not just the Western world being racist towards the Arab world, especially since, you know, they're not very informed.
But whenever the two worlds are colliding, that's exactly where Islamophobia comes from. You've got the Muslims who are not agreeing with the West, and you've got the West who's not agreeing with the Muslim way of life.
There's a difference between Arab culture and Islam. Islam is
But this is exactly right.
There is
no fine line or definition being made between Islam and which is actually the Muslim world and Islamophobia. It's like a word has been created and it's been injected into the minds of people worldwide, and it's now suddenly become an issue, right?
So, personally, I'm not a practicing Muslim. I do understand the cultural differences, but since I'm not a practicing Muslim, I can't speak on behalf of Muslims.
Generally, of course, there should be somewhat of a separation between Arab
Western world and
Arab culture and religion. Keeping in mind that Arab culture is its culture is based on religion. But let's not for now talk about my personal viewpoint when it comes to just the cultural aspects. Let's just look at that. So two worlds are colliding, and things are being shown in a way where it's very interesting, where it starts out, like, for example, just recently we just had the World Cup.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
We had the what?
The World Cup.
In Qatar.
Right,
yes.
In Qatar.
And the comments and the things that were brought up were outrageous. Just the points and the little minuscule things that just blew out of proportions.
Such as,
for example, the biscuit that when Messi won the World Cup,
right.
they gave him a biscuit.
The biscuit, yeah, exactly. That was a bit overboard. Sorry.
Yeah,
it was a bit overboard. I mean, why? Why did you need to take an international event?
Oh, okay.
But why did you?
What do you mean? And now you think that wearing the biscuit is a problem?
No. Okay, it's a cultural thing.
Correct.
Okay, but the World Cup goes from country to country every 4 years. Correct.
Correct.
Right. So it's had a standard formality to it until it entered the Middle East. And it was like, now you're pushing a culture into something that is or has been as a standard format worldwide for how many decades now?
Okay.
I didn't even know what Islam was until 2001. But that's how we lived in Australia.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I did not know I can't say culture, okay, cultural issues, because I have known about the Arab culture from my first memory ever as a child, okay? Putting my accent aside, I do have Arab culture behind. No.
And even your daughter is part Arab.
I have Phoenician. they don't like to be called Arabs. I have Phoenician background behind me.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Yeah, Lebanese. Okay.
Depends on who you ask.
That's fine.
And I very seldom even admit to it. So I do understand the culture that you're talking about. Okay. But it's only appropriate that the West would respond in such a manner. It really is.
Let me interject.
It's already injected into their minds. Since 2001, 9/11, that shit has just gone berserk, okay? I mean, most of the world didn't even know what Muslims were until 2001.
Well, obviously we can't.
Okay, that's what you meant by 2001.
Yeah, 9/11.
So I can't comment on how the world would have been if the 9/11 event were to never happen.
If it didn't happen, they wouldn't have had an issue with that.
You know what?
See, I can't comment on that. But however, if you could give me a chance to talk, please.
The lady has the floor.
So in regards to the Bichette placed on Messi, I don't really think it was a Western versus Arab world issue. Of course, in each World Cup, the host country is going to try its best to represent itself, because it's initially, it's a good way to bring tourists into the country and possibly want to visit again. Okay. So obviously they're going to try to heavily advertise the culture that is relevant.
I don't know I know you guys are sports fans.
Yeah.
Yes.
But did you not pick up on the fact that Qatar did not lay down the rules and regulations until last minute?
Exactly. So that's another issue I have.
I mean, how dare I come from a country where we host one of the biggest gay Mardi Gras in the world, okay?
Okay.
And you guys hate the gays, and yet we've grown up with it. Okay? So we have no issues with it. Yet Qatar, right at the last minute,
literally said that you're not allowed to be who you are in our country.
Exactly.
And they are paying customers.
Okay, hang on. And on that note, okay, the Muslim or the Arab culture stands up openly and says, we don't want them here. We don't agree with them, but the Western world doesn't agree with your way of life either. So you can't stand up and say that the West discriminates against your culture or discriminates against your religion when you are actually, it's pure hypocrisy. You're discriminating against a way of life. Religion is a way of life.
Religion is a way of life.
That's correct. It is a belief. It's a way of life. It is a way of life. Culture is a way of life. And I say it's a way of life because when you pray 5 times a day, it is systematic.
And sometimes 3, by the way.
There's a certain method. That method is not just regarded as religion, but it's regarded as a way of life, right? So being gay is a way of life. You don't need to like it, but you need to learn
how to tolerate it.
It's in our world. It's not going anywhere. And the more you discriminate against it, you cannot scream that the West is discriminating against this part of the world, okay, without actually, it's a two-way street.
It is. As soon as the Arab world is able to tolerate homosexuality, then it wouldn't be an issue.
Husseini actually had a point. He actually had a point, okay, when he said, don't teach it in the schools. But then if you're not teaching it, then but it's been taught at home, then it means that hate is being taught at home.
But that's the thing. I even mentioned, so there was a lot of discussion within the comments, and I also participated in the conversation, to which I said that, listen, it's actually best that it's taught in schools and even by parents eventually when they find the age to be appropriate, because eventually, the fact is, we do have homosexuality present throughout the world. So
it's not going anywhere. Just
your children would eventually be accustomed to it.
We hear from the other 2 contestants as well on this issue.
Okay, going back to the
for once, the women are dominating the conversation.
We're dominating this time. Sorry, gentlemen.
That's where undertake.
That was wrong what Qatar did.
I'll tell you what. And my personal belief, what I wanted to see in that time is football. I wanted to see my culture being represented. How I want to basically see things is this. I wanted my culture to be represented. And I was in those moments when I saw my culture represented in one way or another, I was so happy. And I was so glad to see that. And what I thought was basically...
So was I.
Yeah. But then, however, me seeing then comments and articles and specific blockades in, like, let's say the World Cup, the opening ceremony where there's Quran, they removed that from the televisions, and then they basically other comments like let's say when I mentioned the Ukraine stuff, where they're like, and that this usually comes from non-civilized countries like Arab or whatever, and then all of a sudden they
what does Ukraine have to do with the Arab world? I'm sorry.
No, he's about to get back to that point, but he's still on Qatar, so leave him be for a minute.
No. And then
we'll start on.
There was just a little bit of context. So there was a journalist who basically went up on the news channel, like a news channel. He was like, it's scary what's happening. This is insane. And I'm paraphrasing.
Are we able to find a clip by any chance?
I'm basically paraphrasing, but the comment overall is this. You might be basically, this usually happens in brown countries. This usually happens in different...
What is this with the brown and white? I am so over getting told I'm white.
So yeah,
And then
What
We're
colour
still
are
living
you?
on it, right? It still exists. So we can't really.
But it only exists because we allow it to exist. First of all, we're sitting here fucking discussing this issue. So it means that we're keeping it alive. Do you get what I mean? While ever it
but here's the
continues
thing,
to
though.
be...
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. If we're trying to just move on and just play football, and then all of a sudden I'm getting told like stuff like, "How dare you?" Basically, have someone wear a cultural garment and hiding the Argentinian T-shirt.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is that what was said?
That's what it was said. Yeah.
But
You see how much attention I actually gave to the...
No,
Cup.
having said that, like I said in the beginning of this podcast, is that when they actually won the Mexican, the first time, they were the Mexican
There are
hat, and no
multiple
one said anything
There are
about that.
multiple cases like that.
But that's because
There are
the
multiple
Mexicans are still regarded as you like to put it, white versus brown. Okay, they're still regarded as white.
They're considered
but then they're not
Latinos.
regarded as whites when it comes to America. They face their own issues very similar to what you guys are facing as well. So, I want my religion taught, but the government dictates I have to. Then why do we need parents' consent to teach them something about that already exists in this world and is not going away? In fact, when I say it's not going away, I mean that majority of the first world countries have actually approved same-sex marriages. Would you prefer that your kids grow up blind and oblivious to what the world actually consists of? Or would you prefer that they be made aware and you still have the opportunity to not teach them hate at home, but to explain to them why, while it doesn't fit into your religion or it doesn't fit into your way of life as a cultural issue, but still you should not project hate upon them. Now, you've got one of the best leaders in the world, irrespective, this is my opinion, of your king.
I agree.
He constantly advocates for peaceful coexistence to the point that your king actually went and entered into what is called the Abraham Accords, which you are all aware of what that is.
Of course.
Right? Okay, you're not aware?
No.
The Abraham Accords was an agreement signed, a peace agreement signed between Bahrain and Israel.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, right. So, and as it is, the Arab world has issues against Israel only because you tend to favour Palestine. And that to me is actual stupidity, because Palestine and Israel is a political thing that's been going on for more decades than probably before you gentlemen were even born.
I'm just going to move on from this because I just want to say this. I trust my leadership.
That's right.
Trust my
But my
honestly,
point,
truly,
going back to what, I'll get to my point.
Yes.
If he was wise enough and smart enough and an advocate of peaceful coexistence to enter in to a peace treaty, okay, for the sake of peaceful coexistence with Israel, why is the Arab world having troubles showing acceptance? It doesn't even need to be acceptance towards this way of life, okay, but just saying, okay, it's not my world, it's not my way of life, but I shouldn't project hate.
I disagree, honestly.
Okay,
from
fair
my
enough.
personal perspective, because when you bring about the topic of Palestine and Israel, I have no doubts. Well, I can't really determine why they had accepted this, right? But then in my personal view, I stand with Free Palestine. And I can tell
I don't disagree with Free Palestine.
Yes, but having said that, the government accepted them and allowed them to be...
Because they're trying to move forward into peaceful coexistence. And somebody's got to make the first step.
Exactly.
You can't spend the next 10 years raising your children and having your children raise, or the next 2 decades, teaching hate to your children and then having your children teach hate to their children. Where does it end? Where does it end?
It won't end because...
But it has to end. Otherwise, us as humans are responsible for our own end of world.
Only if Palestine has been freed out of Israel.
Oh my God. If you want to talk about Palestine being freed, why don't you say, let's free Ukraine?
Well, what
Let's
I
free
can say
Ukraine.
right now...
And let's not stop there. Why not say how many other countries are in Desiree?
A lot.
Let's free Yemen.
Yeah.
Let's free
Let's
Yemen.
move on. Let's try to move on from this topic.
Okay.
It is very
Real.
Abood, can I just say, if this is getting too heated for you, then you can leave. It's fine.
You believe that the West is trying to influence a different way of life onto your culture.
It's the other way around. There is a distinguished line between Muslims and
Arabs.
No.
They're
not
both a
Arabs.
way of life.
No.
They're both a way of life.
They're both a way of life. I do agree, but there's I don't know how to say it in English.
قول لي أبو ترجم.
Yeah, we all understand Arabic.
I understand Arabic.
I
actually.
understand Arabic.
متشددين يعني.
Huh?
متشددين.
Mutshaddidin, in other words, that we're over. Excessive.
Extremist, yeah.
Extremists. Thank you for
Yeah.
So there is extremists. Now for us as a religion, we don't consider them even a Muslim. So the Western, because they generalize on Muslims, and then they throw it out of any Muslims are extreme Muslim, which is not the case.
That's not the case, is it?
Overall, one of the things that I personally have noticed in the past couple of years is there is this weird shift happening where before it used to be, oh, they're the terrorists, they're the extremists, they're the village people. And that I've noticed in the past couple of years has a little bit shifted into a more, these people are human.
We can't put everybody into the same category. And you guys have been marginalized. So unless you're known individually, unless somebody spends time with you,
Exactly.
Individually,
Exactly.
then you're looked upon as terrorists. Sadly. But what you're saying is correct.
Exactly.
And yes, there has been a shift. There has been a shift of more acceptance of yous because as yous migrate out of your own countries and enter into the West, and the West is forced to live with yous, and we become friends with our next door neighbours who happens to be of Arab culture or of Islamic religious faith, you come to realise, okay, well, it doesn't matter that they pray differently than us. They're still able to sit at the same table and have a similar conversation, taking religion off the table. We're all able to have moderate conversations.
Correct.
They do not integrate into the culture of the country that they came to. And just like you said,
That is an issue.
just like you said, you enter into bar, you should know what to expect and you should be able to adapt. These people come into that country and they refuse to integrate into the culture. They refuse to respect the people of the country, and then they demand respect. So how is that going to be? How are we able to coincide with people who basically refuse to make peace?
I can say this, okay? I worry about my backyard. So here's the thing. If I go to that country, I follow that law. This is Islamic. Fair?
You would.
I would. This is me.
And
it's
would
on
you?
this-
No.
Let's take a look at America, the US, Canada, New Zealand, Australia. All first world Christian countries. Agreed?
Correct.
Right. The one thing that is against the law in all those countries is polygamy. That is acceptable amongst your religion, not necessarily culture. I'm separating from culture out of respect. I'll say religion.
Fair.
And I'll say religion because here in Bahrain, you've got quite a few national religions as Bahrainis. Okay? So you've even got Christian Bahrainis.
You got Jewish Bahrainis. I was surprised.
You've got Hindu Bahrainis. So actually, Bahrain is very, very impressive.
Very diverse.
Really, really is. And they coexist amongst each other.
For the most part.
We'll go back to my issue. Polygamy is against the law.
Correct.
What is your opinion about the men that migrate into Australia, America, USA, Canada, New Zealand, UK, and they disrespect the law of polygamy by finding loopholes of having one wife and then 2 or 3 other mistresses, whatever your religion or culture allows, okay? And they it's like it's a loophole. One is kept as a mistress according to the laws of the land, and an acceptable mistress because she cannot be regarded as a wife. But yet how the husband regards her as a wife is by signing an Islamic contract, which is how your marriage is formed. Am I correct in saying that?
Correct.
Right. So isn't that disrespecting the Western way of life and the laws?
Why do you think it's a bad thing? Or is it just because
it's not about whether it's a bad thing or not, okay? It's the law.
It's the law.
Right, okay.
Fair.
Now, people are saying, and what we've been hearing, especially in the last podcast, okay, the Macho Libre team popped up and said, respect our country, respect our way of life, and respect our laws. As if we don't, okay? And we're forced to respect your laws because, hey, if we don't, it becomes criminal. And we go to jail.
Yeah, deported.
Okay?
But
you're not respecting ours.
But I'll just straight up by saying this. We're not Macho Libre.
No, but this is why I'm respecting having you two here, because I can get a moderate explanation.
Fair.
Instead of just telling us.
Or shouting over you as they did to me.
She's just getting you guys back because last time they really, really tried to attack her. So today she's getting her voice in.
Let's just first of all start out by saying we're here to have a very good conversation. We're trying to find middle ground.
Well, of course. That's why we're all here.
So mature. Perfect. It's two different opinions.
Yes.
And somewhere here on the middle of the table has got to be the let's agree to disagree and let's live peacefully. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, based on your specific question, if it's not illegal, okay, if it is, polygamy is illegal, however, they generally would find different loopholes in there, and those loopholes, as long as it is not forbidden within the law of the land, if it is forbidden within the law of the land to even include those specific three people, then they will have to deal with those situations.
But hang on, you misinterpret, you're not entirely understanding what I said to you. They found a loophole, which means that there is no repercussions. Okay. So it's a way of breaking the law without actually
breaking the law.
Mm-hmm. But you're still breaking the law. You're disrespecting the culture of the West by doing it.
Arabic culture is so heavily embedded in Islam. Like even when you speak the Arabic language, salam alaikum, you can't avoid using the word Allah, and a lot of times the Western world will associate the word Allah to Islam. Meanwhile, for us,
Arabic translation of God.
And essentially for the Arabic speakers, it's just a normal way of saying hi, bye.
But hang on, in all fairness,
Alhamdulillah, thank God.
A group of Christians, they use the word Allah.
Just because they use the word Allah doesn't necessarily mean that they're Muslim. It's just a language.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's where you people are being targeted unfairly, of course. What's your opinion of, this issue of West versus the Arab world, and your people moving into the Western world and then taking multiple wives?
No, according to what he just said right now, if it's contradict with what you're saying.
What he said, but it's actually not, okay? And if you actually Google it, and I will pull that up.
Fact is, polygamy is not legal outside of the Middle East in a lot of countries.
As Westerners, to respect your way of life when we're in your country, but these people are not respecting our way of life, our laws in our country.
Don't you think you generalize over this right now when you ask him that question? Because
I'm generalizing?
Because you said...
Oh, I like this, Mo. I've never been told I'm generalizing.
No, but that's what you said, because you generalize all the immigrants that they have multiple wives, which is maybe not the case.
Because they're all systematic. Once they leave the Middle East...
I would say it's
very circumstantial. Not all Muslims have multiple wives. That's for a fact.
I seem harsher than I am.
You seem like you have a heart of gold, and I love how you say use, like use people. Like how do you say
her accent?
Use. That's what you meant by the generalization, right? Because I said use.
My personal views are mine.
Okay, and I respect that.
And I have my opinion. Whether you like it, whether you like it. Overall, my overall take is this. Is if there's someone in front of me who's treating me with dignity and respect, how would be the response? How should the response be?
Reciprocate.
Respect back.
Yep.
Respect is a two-way
And if
street.
I don't like that person because of their views, their understanding, the way they carry themselves, I can simply get up and leave.
Most oppressed people in this conversation, which is essentially LGBT Muslims, these people can't control how they feel, and
Didn't
yet
know that they existed, Mo? You're looking a bit weird there.
It is,
I've been
yeah.
in your country for 21 years and I see more of
there
it.
are LGBT Muslims,
Oh,
and
yes.
essentially they are,
It's actually very rife in your own country.
and unfortunately they are made to feel shamed for how they feel, for what they love. And I don't think anyone should be, no one should feel like they have to hide who they are. In Islam, it's said that God doesn't make mistakes. God is perfect and life is predetermined. So why would God create homosexuals and then say that homosexuality is a sin?
I choose not to comment.
Again, I would leave this subject to SME, someone who's really able to answer that. You need someone who is really diving into realistic things, and then he can explain to you further.
Personally, before getting onto, but I did talk to you. I wanted to mention that I didn't want to get into that topic. The reason why is because it creates such a wide divide, and it's such a
It's
tough
another
topic.
subject that created more hatred.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I personally today, just for today,
Let's
just
stay
not
away
talk
from
about
it.
This is my wish, and this is what I would like to have. This is me saying and setting a boundary that, hey guys, let's just move on. Education can be a start.
Thank you.
Education can be a start. Communication is important. And have them learn about our culture. Have them learn why our culture is important. Have them understand, and have us learn about your culture. And we'll understand. And there is differences. And regardless, we can't separate them. But we can at least understand them.
I have nothing more to say. He just summed it up so perfectly. Cultural differences will always exist, but we all need to play our part in acceptance and finding a middle ground to accept. And even if we don't accept, to just learn to turn a blind eye and live away from it, but accept the fact that it is there and it's not going anywhere. And this will contribute towards the cultural conflict that is going on between West versus Arab world. Your turn.
And over to you, Ameera.
So I just want to say that I am literally a physical representation of how the world is blending in with each other. I'm literally a mix between the Arab world and the Western world. And with that said, eventually the whole world will be blended. And this is why I preach tolerance. You may not agree with everything, but at least you can coincide with it. And just be sure that whatever you do preach, you are going to be mindful with the words you say and actions you do. Please be wary of any physical harm, and please do not partake in negative movements. And instead, just have love and watch the world go around. Back to you.
So thank you all for watching. I have nothing to say, actually. It's been a really tough conversation. Yet, I want to say shout out to Husseini.
He said it.
Right.
He said
He
it.
contributed a lot in this conversation, which I really like, that he's really into saying lots of things which contradict with you. I don't know why you call him Husseini. That's something
That's
I
actually
don't
Dan
know.
and Akash. They came up with this nickname.
And it is so
it's just
valid.
stuck.
Is-
It's
is-
just, I don't know about whether
Anyways,
it's valid.
so shout out to him.
Hussein,
Shout out
as
to
much shit as
Husseini.
what I give you.
I hope
Shout out.
he has a better chance, because I can feel that there was a hatred. No, I'm not going to
No,
say
it's
hatred.
not a
No, there's no
hatred.
Not a hatred,
There's
but
no
I can
hatred.
feel a lot of emotions going on.
Not from
especially-
me. I actually
Oh
know
my God,
Hussein.
no, I would disagree really, because
Look, if I were to go, since I was a participant of that conversation, I'll just say this. I do feel like my voice was taken away from me because these two gentlemen talked over me multiple times, and my colleague. Meanwhile, I came there with a clear message that I wanted woman equality to be more prominent in Bahrain.
All right, Massimo, you were saying?
Yeah, actually, I forgot it because it's like, I don't know, it's got like too emotional. Anyways, I think the way I see it is that especially this specific topic, there should be an SME, subject matter expert, who can really educate and tolerate this kind of conversation, because I don't think that me personally will fit in such a topic. I think you have to bring someone who's really can answer you through some...
I think if we can get these us four on the table again, I might be able to arrange an SME.
I mean, you should have been aware.
No, not coming.
Everybody, we're going to work that out the next one. Thank you so much, everybody, for the beautiful panel that joined us. This has been the second episode of the Unsolved Exchange. We will be streaming every Friday. Make sure you follow us on Twitch, on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, and Instagram. And subscribe to our network.
Can we give a shout out to all the participants?
Thank you so much to Master Mo from the Master Mo podcast. Make sure you check out the podcast. Story of Ameera. Check out her store and her podcast coming on quick. Clair, we hear you have some big things in store coming up. Shout out to Clair for making this happen. And AboodJay, who's going to perform on a secret project very, very quickly. No. So shout out to him.
They're giving away all of our secrets. Talk about unsolved truths. You're giving away our secrets.
Follow Unsolved Truths everywhere. We will launch our...
It's an investigation show.
Thank you very much. And this was it. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.